Lakers barely hold on to beat the Toronto Raptors. Should we still be worried about them? Plus, Erik Spoelstra gets the bag. And are we in risk of an MVP candidate missing the 65-game threshold? It's all right now on the Locked On NBA podcast.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Oh, unmute. Hey there. Welcome to the Locked On NBA podcast. I swear I know how to do this podcast. I swear I remember. It's like riding a bike. Welcome back to Locked On NBA. I'm your normal but not usual Wednesday co-host here, John Karalis from the Locked On Celtics podcast. Jake, hi.
Hi, yeah, you seem off here. I'm Jake Madison, host of the Locked On Pelicans podcast on Twitter at NOLA Jake. We're back. I think we're back for a while too. No more subs, no more six men of the year in Tony East.
Man.
Koo from Locked On Pistons has filled in, a couple others too. Swiper from Locked On Nuggets. You and I, the dream team, are back here. I'm excited.
We're back. It's fun. It's fun. Like I miss these double podcast Tuesdays where I have to do my show and another show. But it's fun. I've missed you and I've missed the Locked On NBA audience so dearly. So I'm glad. It's good to see you. It's good to see you and your well manicured beard and hair. So it's very nice.
It's great to see you and your hair as well here, John.
My very well manicured scalp. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. If you're a new customer, you just got to make any bet. Any $5 bet, you get $150 in bonus bets. So go check it out at FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Later on, the 65-game rule. Somebody maybe could eliminate an MVP candidate. Erik Spoelstra joins the very, very, very rich head coaching club. But the Los Angeles Lakers, let's start with them. The late game on a light schedule on a night that was not particularly interesting, unless you're the Memphis Grizzlies. I'll mention them a little bit more later. But the Lakers and the Raptors played the best game of the night. Lakers getting the 132-131 win. This is it was back and forth. It was a free throw in like 36 free throws for the Lakers, 13 for the Raptors. Fouls were a big thing down the stretch. 3-point makes were a big thing down the stretch. LeBron James, a monster night. Anthony Davis, a monster night. Holding off Pascal Siakam, who went nuts in the fourth quarter. The Lakers, there's been a lot said about the Lakers. Big ESPN piece about them post in-season tournament. Is this the kind of win, Jake, that you think kind of rights the ship and kind of gets them in a right direction where they might be able to make some noise here in the West?
So, look, their win over the Clippers was good. I'm going to give them that. This was the Toronto Raptors, who are not good, and you also can easily win games when you have six guys on the court because referee Ben Taylor was clearly on the side of the Los Angeles Lakers in this one. Yeah, man, if they get the refs calling a game like that the rest of the season, they're going to go undefeated and they're going to win the title. They won't lose another game until like July here.
Wow.
Look, the referee in this one was bad here. Yeah, we're trying to derail the show right off the bat here. Wow. Ben Taylor decided this was going to be about him. What was the free throw disparity in the fourth quarter was absurd. The Raptors took 2, the Lakers took 20-something. Anthony Davis in this game took 14 free throw attempts. The Raptors as a team took 13. There was a real ticky-tack flagrant foul at the end of this one, right? You also had that offensive foul called when the Raptors made a 3 that Anthony Davis drew and maybe flopped.
That one was rough.
That one wasn't the best here. So, look, these guys like to make it about themselves at times. And the Lakers always kind of get this benefit of the doubt. This is like nothing new across the league. I'm probably just opening myself up for attack here. But like Reddit has done studies on this, right? Like you look at the free throw disparities of the Lakers get calls, but don't get into the paint nearly as much. And like, it doesn't correlate to any other team here. So yeah, this is a turning point win if the Lakers get this kind of referee help the rest of the season.
The fourth quarter was 44-42, the Lakers, right? So they won the fourth quarter by 2. They won the game by 1. 19 of 23 from the free throw line, 1 of 2 for Toronto, 1 of 2 for Toronto from the line. They made 7 more baskets. They made 2 more 3-pointers, but they were outscored by 18 at the line in the fourth quarter. This is what the Lakers do. They do attack. They did get to the rim. I will say some of those were earned. Anthony Davis went and got to the rim and really kind of bulldozed. LeBron bulldozed his way in and kind of had guys bouncing off of him. But yeah, the offensive foul, Anthony Davis. I love when big, giant, strong dudes get bumped by smaller guys. Joel Embiid is great at this. Smaller guy bumps into him and he goes flying and flopping. I will say that if I'm an official, I don't understand how you can look at that and say, oh yeah, that makes actual physics sense. In a guy that size gets hit at that speed and goes flying in the opposite direction like he was just hit by a car. That one was a definite exaggeration. I was thinking as it happened that Anthony Davis probably paid like $10,000 to get that win because that's gonna be the flopping fine.
Hey, look, man, why do we know all these refs' names? Like, why is Ben Taylor the star of this? Like, the Lakers played well. Like, don't get me wrong, right? Like, AD was a monster. He's been playing for like a month and a half, really maybe some of the best basketball of his career, right? And now we're talking about the refs, and that's kind of the discussion on Twitter. And like, we know too many refs because stuff like this happens all the time. Like, why does Tony Brothers have a Wikipedia page? It's a thing.
It's Tony Brothers, man.
No one needs that, man. You're a referee. We shouldn't know who you are.
Yeah. I mean, look, you're talking to the guy whose team just got a last 2-minute report that is kind of sketchy. The foul on Jaylen Brown at the end of the Pacers game. They justified a guy shooting a jump shot getting hit in the head mid-shot. And I don't know. And then turn around and said, oh, on the other side, yeah, they committed a foul and the foul that we called shouldn't have been called. So the officiating over the past couple of nights has not been the best. But look, bottom line here, Lakers get this win, a much needed win. And now they're heading into games against Phoenix, Utah, OKC, Dallas. This is basically an every other night stretch for a while. Brooklyn, Portland, the Clippers again, Chicago. There are some winnable games in there, but there are some real buzzsaws in there as well, where if the Lakers can get propelled by this win, then they have this opportunity to kind of, I don't know, right the ship a little bit. I don't know what the Lakers are going to be able to do as far as answering my own question, making noise in the West. They're barely in the play-in. People, if anybody's going to accuse us of anything, it's going to be like, why are you trying to shoehorn the Lakers into this conversation? But the bottom line is, when you have Davis and LeBron playing like they did in this game, and if they start hitting a few 3-pointers, Austin Reeves finally hit one. He's been struggling lately. If they can get going, then you have this opportunity to make some noise because you can get through the play-in. We just saw what the Miami Heat did last year. A play-in team with some good players that's kind of been coasting and trying to figure themselves out over the course of the regular season has an opportunity to make some kind of run. So as long as the Lakers are still above that 10th slot, they're going to be in the conversation because they have LeBron James and Anthony Davis playing like this makes them a legitimate threat.
Yeah, look, and their defense is good, right? Like that's kind of what they've hung their hat on the past couple of years, you know, in particular last season in their playoff run too, and their defense has been good.
It can be good.
Yeah, it's where does the offense come from? But if you get LeBron James playing like this, Anthony Davis playing like this, and both of these guys are capable of doing that, right? Like that could probably take you pretty far in the playoffs. I don't know if that gets you to the NBA finals or the conference finals. It can probably get you out of the first round, which for them is probably the first step of kind of righting the ship. Look, if anything, this quiets the noise down for a little bit, and I think that's a win for them. This takes away some of the distractions of, is Darvin Ham's job on the line? If you can get a couple of these nice wins, and as you said, they play every other day for basically the rest of the month. If you can go above 500 and just kind of maintain a little bit momentum, I think that's good enough for right now, and then gives you a week or so to figure out what to do up to the trade deadline if there's a piece that you can add. And they did this last year, right? You know, they brought in Malik Beasley, they brought in Vanderbilt. That really energized them. D'Angelo Russell at the trade deadline last year too. That energized them and gave them a little bit of oomph that they were missing. We didn't expect that from them then. You know, it wouldn't shock me if they pull off another move like that this year.
Quieting the noise is probably the best point in all of this.
Yeah.
It's just getting everybody to shut the hell up. And so focus on somebody else, get a few wins in a row and move forward. For once, the Lakers are not looking for attention. They want the attention to go away. And this is where the machine works against them. All right, we'll come back. Erik Spoelstra, we'll talk about a couple of these other games going on. And Erik Spoelstra joins the basically very rich coach club. We'll talk about all that in just a second. Today's show is brought to you by our good friends at FanDuel. It's America's #1 sportsbook, and it's the #1 sportsbook for a reason, because when you join at FanDuel.com/LockedOn on the YouTube page, it's right there at the bottom, FanDuel.com/LockedOn. You sign up, you make a bet, $5 bet, and whether you win or lose, you get $150 in bonus bets. So go ahead and place that bet. If you win your bet, and you get $150 on top of that in bonus bets. So go check out this app. You can go find live same game parlays. You can find bets in their Explore tab. So you can kind of, if you're not sure what you want to bet on, go see what other people are betting on. You can do that in the Parlay Hub, where you can find popular parlays that people are kind of building. Plenty of opportunities. So go to FanDuel.com/LockedOn, make your first bet a layup. FanDuel is the official partner of the NFL. I will say that the best part about FanDuel is they have tools on there for you to set your limits, set your parameters, so you can set your budget, you can have some fun, and you go ahead and gamble responsibly. Hey, thanks for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. Go check out Locked On Sports Today, the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. All day, every day, all the biggest stories in the sports world. Forget the contrived. That's the wrong button. Forget the contrived arguments. We're having real arguments, real discussion here, and you can find that over there on the Locked On Sports Today channel. Some other games of the night. Dallas folks are going to be really upset that the Memphis Grizzlies beat them 120-103. Obviously no John Morant, Marcus Smart. Have you ever seen anybody hit a three-pointer with a dislocated finger, Jake?
Yeah, it looked like Sean Marion hit all of those with his career. But that was just his kind of gross looking hands.
Well, Marcus Smart did it. I don't know if it happened during the thing or whatever. The Knicks beat the Blazers pretty easily. The Sacramento Kings beat the Pistons by 21. The Pistons had like a 20-point lead after the first quarter, got outscored by 40 in the second, third, and fourth quarters combined. So, so sorry, Koo. Everybody go listen to Locked On Pistons. It's always going to be fun over there. And Minnesota beat the Orlando Magic. The big thing here, Jake, with the Minnesota Timberwolves is the weather up here in my part of the world is absolutely god-awful. So the Minnesota Timberwolves are playing the Celtics back-to-back on Wednesday. They could not fly in tonight. They're going to fly in and land in Boston about 6 hours before game time. So if you want to lay some money down, you might want to bet against the
go to FanDuel right now here, I think.
Bet against them on the back-to-back. They're going to show up. They're going to land. They're going to get to their hotel. I don't even know if they're going to go to the hotel. They're going to go right to the arena, whatever, and play. That's going to be rough for the Timberwolves. Not rough, the bank account for Erik Spoelstra, who is basically going to get $15 million a year over the next 8 years. It's an 8-year, $120 million coaching deal for Erik Spoelstra. Jake, do you think this man is appropriately paid?
I think he's probably underpaid, if anything, from this, right? Like, he's got to be considered one of the 2 best coaches, him and Popovich, maybe 3 best coaches in the NBA. It has been for a while, and it's kind of a Miami Heat lifer, is kind of like the torchbearer now, especially with Udonis Haslem retired, of like Miami Heat culture, and Heat culture is a very real thing. He's good. Like, he's an incredible coach. He was kind of cutting edge at the time of the Big 3 era there with LeBron James. He's kind of done everything you could want. He's had success. He's taken them back to the finals, since then with everything. Like, he just kind of does it all. Paying him all of this money seems like the right move to do to keep some continuity there. The thing I love the most about this, though, is now the 2 highest paid coaches in the NBA don't have a combined 8 wins, with Monty Williams 3 wins in Detroit and Popovich 5 wins in San Antonio right now. We finally have someone with a winning record getting paid like he should be.
Yeah, the Monty Williams deal, it just felt like he kept saying no, and they kept saying, how about this much? Nah, how about this much? All right, fine. And it's looking like that. It's people in Detroit are not happy. But the Miami deal here, this is a no-brainer. You're right. I think underpaid might be accurate. Yeah. This is we all, and I know people in Boston, my Locked On Celtics fans who are listening, might get a little rubbed the wrong way when I say that the Heat culture thing is legit and maybe overplayed in the media sense or any of that stuff. But from a team perspective, that's real, and that is a great example of how a franchise runs from top to bottom, where they the front office has a plan. They understand what their plan is. They empower their coach. They support their coach. They did it from the beginning. If that front office is going to support Erik Spoelstra when LeBron James walks in the door and says, I don't know about this guy, and they were like, yeah, well, you better get to know about this guy because he's your coach. That right there set the tone from way, way back. And they've been kind of living that life from then. It is, I think, a fun kind of, I don't want to say like, I don't know what the word is, but it's fun to see Spoelstra get this contract when he started out in that pre-LeBron era, and there were all of the fire Spoelstra. You got to fire Spoelstra. He's not ready. He's not he's not the guy. You need to get a more established guy. And the fact that the Heat believed in him, they had their guy, they empowered him. That tells you what a franchise needs to be when it comes to their coach. And look, I'm comparing it to the Boston Celtics because Joe Mazzulla is in a very similar space. Now, no one has gone in to say, get him out of here. But the fact is that he was thrust into a job that people are kind of questioning his preparedness for, and the front office backed him too. And that's following that Miami example. You back your coach. The players now understand we have to follow what he says. And if the players are buying in to what the coach is saying, there's a good chance that you're going to succeed. If everybody's on the same page, there's a good chance you're going to succeed. And there's a reason why the Miami Heat, no matter who you throw out there, continue to be good. There's a reason why I don't think they find all these diamonds in the rough. Like, why does Miami always find these guys? I don't think it's about finding these diamonds in the rough. It's once you get all of these guys can be decent basketball players. It's once you get them into that system with that coaching, with that front office, with the whole culture, it brings the best out of them. That's where I think this all lies.
Yeah, look, and I think that has a big part of that is how long Spoelstra has been there, basically like his whole life, right? He was working as a video intern, kind of cutting film. He's been an assistant coach since the 97-98 season, right? Like is about as established as you can get within there. There's a reason players listen to Udonis Haslem as much as they did, right? He's kind of got the same cachet now, especially with the winning, but also just kind of being there from the get-go. This is a guy who worked his way up, like put in the dues, paid the time, all of those things. He's got a career win-loss record of 725 wins, 506 losses. It's a 58.9% winning percentage, right? He's gone to 6 NBA finals, winning 2 of them, including some improbable ones, right? Like no one thought that bubble team was going to make the finals. They didn't even have a 20 point per game scorer on that team, right? During the regular season. And then 2 years ago, getting to the NBA finals as well, making the run that they had, not an amazing record or anything. It's been just very impressive, the work that he's done with this franchise to take him as far as he has, that they keep winning. And as you said, right, you still have Pat Riley there running the team. He and Spoelstra clearly are in sync and share the same sort of vision. And when you have that synergy with everything, write it out as much as you can. He's clearly winning. The players listen to him. He gets the most out of these guys. Like anyone you throw in there, they get the most out of. The Heat are the culture you want to try and replicate, and no one's been able to do it, and they've done it for this long. You want to maintain as much of that as possible.
Yeah, it's hey, good for him, good for them. The best thing I can tell them, best compliment I can pay them as a person who covers one of their biggest competitors is they are annoying as all hell because of all of this. Just like, why won't you die? Why won't you just die, Miami? Just rebuild, go away. They won't. They refuse to. And that's the best compliment I can give them. Up next, will an MVP candidate be dropping out because of the new 65 game rule? We'll talk about that in just a second. Today's show is brought to you by BetterHelp. It's I'm a big believer in therapy. I've gone through it myself. I understand the benefits of it, whether you're just trying to get through a stressful time in your life or whether you're trying to deal with something a little bit more deep, that it's a long-held thing. Therapy can get you through a lot. The problem is that most people don't find the right therapist and are limited to who's in their area. That's where BetterHelp comes in, because BetterHelp is designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. And the most important thing, after you fill out a brief questionnaire that gets your needs together and matches you with a licensed therapist that they say, this is a person who can help you. If you don't click, you can switch at any time for no additional charge. That's the most important thing to me, because if you don't click with your therapist, you're not going to get what you need out of therapy. So go find the person that you want, switch a couple times, however many times you need to find the right person. When you get there, I'm telling you, you're going to make the progress that you are looking for, because that can open up a lot of doors for you, like it did for me. Celebrate the progress you've already made. Go check out BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA. You're going to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. Hey, thanks for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. Every team that we're talking about here has a Locked On podcast out there. So we just talked about Locked On Heat. They're certainly going to be talking about Spoelstra's new contract. Go check them out. Every NBA team is covered, including those of ours here on the Locked On NBA podcast. Celtics, if you want to check us out. Pelicans, I'm sure plenty of Pelicans fans listening already know what kind of great show that is. All right. The Locked On Sixers, I'm sure, are going to be talking about Joel Embiid not playing in their next game. And that puts him, 9 games away from missing that 65 game threshold, which is okay. So 65 games, that's 18.
You can miss 17 games. You can miss 17 games. There's actually a tracker. I will say CBS Sports has a tracker, which is really useful.
Do they
for
really?
This sort of thing. Yeah. This is where this sort of comes from. One, Embiid missing the game tonight is a big deal. So he's going to be at, I think, 9 of 17 games missed. You have Kevin Durant, who's missed 7 of 17 games. Devin Booker's missed 9 of 17. Donovan Mitchell's at 9 of 17. Bam Adebayo is 10 of 17. Jimmy Butler is 12 of 17. Kyrie Irving has missed 16 games already this season. And then a guy like Bradley Beal doesn't have a chance at anything because he's already over the limit for all of this.
Wow. So that's going to have an impact. The Kyrie thing would have an impact, I think, on maybe some of the All NBA.
Yeah, but he likely wasn't going to get in anyway, probably. But yeah,
but it could. MVP. I mean, he could, like, depending on he has an outside chance. But the Embiid thing is what has triggered a lot of this because it's a second straight game. He's got a knee issue, and he's playing like a potential MVP. He's coming off of one MVP season. Why not go for another MVP? So the question here, as we play real or fake, do we have real or fake music? Did we have real or fake music, or is that gone?
I'm not sure.
I thought we had real or fake music.
I think it got made, and then we haven't been on the show together to actually use it. Hold on.
I think this is it.
Is this real or fake? Just ask John and Jake. Is this real or fake?
Okay. Oh, maybe it's looping. Okay, there you go. That should have only played once.
I think we should play it again.
Yeah, we can play it again.
There you go. We'll turn it down while we're talking here.
Oh yeah, we can play with the volume.
Okay. It's running.
It's like
in the
playing
background.
with a new toy. So, okay, real or fake, Jake? The MVP race will be impacted by the 65 game rule.
Yeah, I think it actually will be. I think this is real. I think there's a very good chance that this is going to happen. Joel Embiid's been playing like the MVP for a while now, it seems like. And if he's kind of pushing this limit right now, kind of knowing some of his injury history and how they do like to load manage him at times, like that really might impact it, right? We're coming up on halfway through the season. He's right around halfway of the games missed, but that just means you're one slight injury away where you miss 4 straight games or something like that, later in the season from being out of the running for this. And I'm curious to see how this is going to impact kind of everything, right? Bam Adebayo is always a guy that's in the running for Defensive Player of the Year. He's pushing games missed right now too. Anthony Davis could get that this year, but he's always kind of, a little bit fragile. You worry about injuries there. And I wonder if it's going to lead to some guys like trying to play through injury, not just playing through load management, but playing through an actual injury and trying to hit that kind of 20-minute threshold you need to play to count it as a game towards that 65 game threshold. And could someone get more injured for that sort of thing? So how is this going to kind of impact the final 3 weeks, month of the regular season? I think is going to be really interesting. And I think you're going to see it impact something somewhere, and it very well may be the MVP award.
I'm torn on this question because I first of all, I think Jokic is going to be the MVP. I think this season is I think people are going to be like, okay, we realize we gave it to Embiid and he deserved it. He definitely deserved it. But also Jokic deserved it maybe a little bit more. I think people understand that there was kind of some specious reasoning behind the not giving it to Jokic last season. But now that it's not 3 in a row, people can be like, oh yeah, I'll vote for Jokic again. And he's deserving of it. So in that sense, I feel like Jokic is going to get it, and doesn't matter who else misses games, so it's not going to impact the race. However, if a guy misses, then it could have an impact in that Jokic gets like a unanimous MVP versus a split vote, and maybe it opens up some voting for somebody else, like a Jason Tatum, who I would think is on the fringe, on the outside, maybe like more like a 5th or 6th, but without Embiid in the mix. Maybe he gets a little bit extra consideration and maybe makes a little bit more of a run, kind of opens up the East. If a guy like Tatum makes a late run, maybe because Embiid is out, and some people say I've done, maybe people do still have that Jokic, like I've done that already. Let's give it to a new guy. Maybe there's something there. So I will give it like a 65 to 35 real.
That's pretty good. I can live with that. All right. You're basically on my side. We're rounding up here, and that counts. I'm glad to see that we're back to kind of agreeing with each other on the podcast here. I don't know. Like I wasn't expecting this, to be perfectly honest. Like, I didn't think this would be tested to the way that I think it could be. And right, like, you're one kind of significant injury away, like one guy playing through injury to make that threshold that then keeps him out for the postseason or something like that because he played hurt, of this being like a bigger discussion, right?
Yeah.
No, oh, you're shaking your head.
Well, I just don't think anybody's going to let that happen. I don't think any guy of that caliber is going to be at a place where he's on the verge of playing or not playing, and then saying, I want to go play 20 minutes to go get my games played. Okay, two things from there real quick. One, the medical staff will never allow that. Two,
that's a good point.
Even if they did, playing those games. So say you need to play 5 games and get those 20 minutes per game. Well, that's not going to be the best 5 games you ever played. So I think that by going out there and playing, you're not only damaging whatever injury you have, you're damaging your own case, because it's not like Joel is going to go out there. He's averaging 34.5, 12 and 6. He's not going to go put up 35, 12 and 6 in 20 minutes. He's going to have some reduced numbers, and the lasting impression is going to be, we kind of saw him dragging his leg, and he was playing to get the MVP. That's a lot. That's selfish. That's kind of off-putting. The fans won't like it. I don't think that's going to be the way this goes. I think shutting it down, especially now, specifically Joel Embiid, he's already won an MVP. So I don't think that he's going to go for, if it comes down to, am I going to sit and try and go for a championship versus play for a second MVP? He's going to sit because he's already got his MVP, and now it's about winning, a real trophy.
I don't have the list in front of me, but I'm wondering if there's like a guy who's like Rose Rule eligible that needs it for like all NBA and needs to hit that minimum threshold. So then would you do it? And if it's going to impact your money that much, that's kind of where I'm coming from, the lens of it from. I think the MVP is a little bit odd. Also there's not going to be that many guys where that really applies. And basically the list we just looked at, no one's really in line for a Rose Rule thing or anything like that. So I don't think we really need to worry about it this year, but I don't know. There's a scenario where that could happen. Maybe it's just one of those things of like, you can't really plan, or you shouldn't really plan for like one-off situations like that, which it kind of is, but it's something just to kind of keep an eye on long-term. And it's just interesting that we're already kind of like tracking the number of games players are allowed to miss, and we're like basically halfway through the season. Yeah.
I mean, and this is it, right? He's kind of halfway through his games, and he's halfway through the season, so he's going to be right on the edge. It might come down to 1 or 2 games, which will make it interesting. If it's like a last game of the season thing to be number 65, that will be interesting. But like I said, I think it would be off-putting. I think Philly fans would be like, wow, this is selfish. Don't do it. But we'll see. We'll see where we get to down there. All right. We did it. We made it to the end of the show, and I think I only messed up like 5 or 6 times. Very high turnover rate, but I'm rusty on my first game back. So, hey, at least
more. Next week's going to be amazing. We're both going to be here, so it's going to be fantastic.
We're going to get back into watch some film, see what I did wrong, try to correct it, all of that stuff. Hey, on Wednesdays, it's us. I'm John Karalis, host of the Locked On Celtics podcast. Find me on Twitter at John_Karalis.
And I'm Jake Madison, host of the Locked On Pelicans podcast, on Twitter at NolaJake.
Would love it now. If you're not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. Make sure you're so you can get to tomorrow's show, which is who's tomorrow? It's Nick Angston and Pat the Designer. I still remember that. So check that out. And if you are an everydayer, we love you. Thank you so much. Now share the podcast, spread the word, tell everybody they should be listening to and watching the Locked On NBA podcast right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.